Hey guys, how's it going? Just kind of wanted to break down a little bit more what I was talking about on my stream just the other day about just the New Age movement and how this connects back to the Templars and Switzerland, and the United Nations, and all these different signs and symbols. How it all kind of connects to ancient Sumeria and all these things, these royal, noble bloodlines. Or so they say. Right, and as we know, Templar spirituality is characterized by the reverence of the divine feminine. Right, and as I've been talking about on the channel, this divine feminine is dualistic. It's androgynous. It has both male and female aspects, right? Just like the Baphomet. Not a coincidence, right? All this New Age stuff, this all comes from the Templars. All this duality, right? And it's all the Baphomet. Everything duality is the Baphomet, right? Frequent spiritual meditation, vocal chanting, esoteric energy work, spiritual alchemy, chakras, metaphysical science, right? And all this kind of New Age stuff. Remember how it all connects together, right? And they even say this, right? Ancient Celtic traditions, Druid spirituality, esoteric Western traditions, Hermetic theosophy, right? Blavatsky and all these things, Rosicrucianism, classical Eastern traditions, Hinduism, and Kriya Yoga, right? This is what the New Age is. Like, it just borrows from all of these things, right? Because it's really all the same stuff. All this esoteric energy is really just coming from the Baphomet. It's really just the serpent in the garden, and ye become like gods, right? And it's Lucifer, right? And that's seen as this is what the Lucis Trust is all about. Alice Bailey, right? What did they used to be called? The Lucifer Trust. Speaking of the Lucifer Trust, they're now blocking me from their website. I find that interesting. But anyway, right? And the Templars, they established the Rosicrucian Order. That's why it's called the Order of the Rose Cross, right? The Kabbalistic Order of the Rose Cross, all these Rosicrucian orders. The Rose Cross is the Templar cross. It is the cross patty, right? All this stuff is connected, right? Rose Cross, that's the Templar cross, right? And again, the Lucis Trust, an NGO with special consultative status with the UN, which is in Geneva, Switzerland, because the Templars established the country of Switzerland. Which is why when you look at their flag and their crest, it's the cross, right? This is the Templar cross. This is why all this stuff is in Switzerland, right? The central bank of central banks, the Bank for International Settlements, right, is in Switzerland. The United Nations is in Switzerland. The World Economic Forum is in Switzerland. All this stuff is in Switzerland. So all this stuff is coming from the Templars, right? But they're all related. They all work together on these things, as we know. But a lot of it is centralized in Switzerland. This is why I kind of laugh when people talk about the city of London and the Rothschilds when the central bank is in Switzerland. The United Nations is in Switzerland. All this stuff points to Switzerland and the Templars. All the symbolism points to the Templars. All right, the cross patty, this rose cross, the Rosicrucians, all this New Age stuff. All right, but anyway, all right, and they are recognized by the UN. And they're one of these NGOs, special consultative status, but they're part of 80% of these NGOs that you will not find in a public search database. You cannot search for them. Right? There's apparently 80%. Right? Probably the Knights of Malta as well, and the rest of these, secret societies that have the same symbolism. Right? You see the same, the cross patty with the Knights of Malta. Right? The Sovereign Military Order of Malta. It's the same cross. It's all the same thing. Zionists. They're all part of this quote-unquote royal bloodline that goes back to ancient Sumeria. We'll break that down some more in just a second here. But on that website, you will find they're called the Order of the Temple of Solomon, right? The Temple of Solomon, which points back to the seal of Solomon, right? And again, this seal of Solomon, where is it? Seal of Solomon, right here. I see, associated with the first pentacle of Jupiter, right? Which is associated with the eight-pointed star of Jupiter, which goes back to ancient Sumeria. Right, let's cross Patty that the Templars love so much. You see it right here in Sumeria. Right, the cross Patty. It's all related because they're all part of this royal bloodline. Right, this royal bloodline that goes back to ancient Sumeria and probably farther than that, right? These are these false idols of Canaan, false idols of Babylon. All right, that talks about in Psalms 106. That's what this is. And we connect this to the Vatican, right? The Templars were granted permanent, irrevocable sovereignty with full dependence by the Vatican Papal Bull back in 1139 AD. Right? So look at that. So that's why it's the Swiss Guard with the Vatican, right? The Swiss Guard. This connects all to the Templars and all these things. This big club that you're not a part of, right? So, and we know this cross patty that they're obsessed with, right? Has 8 sides, right? There's 8 sides to this cross patty. Just like the 8-pointed star of Jupiter, just like the 8-pointed star of Ishtar, right? It's all the same thing. It's the star of Jupiter, the 8-pointed star of Jupiter, that you also see all over the place. The same 8-pointed star you see it with the mafia here, and you see it with the CIA emblem. They have the star of Ishtar as well, right? They're all part of this little club, this international criminal syndicate, global banking cartel, ruled and controlled by these royal banking families in Venice and in Israel, and they're all working together on this, right? Let's say we're all in it together, right? And you see how these all are all connected, these stars of Jupiter, and it all points back to ancient Sumeria and the 8-pointed star of Jupiter, including the seal of Solomon, right? The seal of Solomon, right? And they are the Order of the Temple of Solomon Foundation. That's what they call themselves. That's what they call themselves on their website. They love Solomon, Order of the Temple of Solomon. Right? This is what they're about. Right, so we look at that, and this is the seal of Solomon right there, and again, it's associated with Jupiter, right? It goes to the 8-point star of Jupiter in Sumeria, this first pentacle of Jupiter. This is what this seal of Solomon is associated with, right? When you think about all of this red and blue symbolism that is all over the place with America, Russia, France, all over the place, right? Because red and blue make purple, which points us to the crown chakra, right? In Kundalini, right? The Kundalini serpent, which is associated with yoga and meditation, right? This crown chakra, right? At the top of the head, right? It's associated with the planet Jupiter. Right? So this red and blue symbolism, the crown chakra, as they talk about on their own website, openly, and by the way, they're about, yoga, Hinduism, right? All these things, chakras, prana, kundalini, all this kind of esoteric energy, this ancient alchemy, esoteric Western traditions. This is what the Templars are all about, right? So this crown chakra, purple, associated with Jupiter, right? This is why, Mystery Babylon, the Vatican, wears purple on Lent. That is why the Pope wears purple on Lent. All these things kind of tie together. It's all Luciferianism, and all through the color coding and the signs and symbols, it all takes you back to ancient Sumeria. Right, because all these people are related, and you think about this seal of Solomon, right? It's all about duality, guys. Like red, the masculine, blue, the feminine. right? It's all androgyny, just like the Baphomet, just like Lucifer, right? It's all the serpent in the garden, and ye will become like gods. Lucifer trying to influence society and all these ancient cultures and all these things, right? This has to do with duality. This is the masculine and the feminine in the seal of Solomon, right? And you see right here, again, you see the 8-pointed star of Jupiter right here, and the first pentacle of Jupiter. You see these same signs and symbols. It all connects, right? We take a look. Is this it? And you see right here, this really illustrates it right here. See? Blue the feminine, red the masculine. This is why you see this red and blue color coding all over the place. Alright, with the police. Right? With the American flag, the Russian flag, the French flag, right? These are all the false idols of Canaan. Right? They're all related. They're all part of this royal bloodline that goes back to ancient Sumeria. Right? And the Seal of Solomon is one of their favorites. Right? Just like the Templars. Right? All these things. And, and you think of Capitol Hill in D.C., right? It's named after the Capitoline Hill in ancient Rome, which was dedicated to Saturn, right? This is where the Temple of Jupiter sat in ancient Rome, Temple of Jupiter. So again, right, the red and blue in the American flag. Right? Capitol Hill in D.C., named after Capitoline Hill in ancient Rome, dedicated to Saturn, where they had the Temple of Jupiter. Right? So here we go. Here's Saturn and Jupiter. Right? And, there was this statue at the Rotunda in Capitol Hill of George Washington, where he's clearly the Baphomet, as above, so below. Right? This is the masculine and the feminine. In the Baphomet, duality. This is what they're about. Right? And it said it's to be of Zeus, but Zeus is the Greek equivalent of the Roman god Jupiter. Right? And this sat in Capitoline Hill. It sat in Capitol Hill, dedicated to Capitoline Hill, which was dedicated to Saturn, Temple of Jupiter. And you see how this all connects. The red and blue symbolism. Red and blue making purple. All about duality. All about androgyny, all these different signs and symbols, it all connects. You see? I see right here. Right? This is what the Templar is all about. Duality. All this stuff is connected. Right? And you think about the UN. Right? The UN. All about the sustainable development goals. Right? Why do we see this rainbow symbolism? I did a video on this. Why do we see all of this rainbow symbolism? Well, this connects back to Sumeria. And the 8-pointed star of Jupiter connects to the number 8. Right? The rainbow symbolism. The rainbow comes to your view at 42 degrees. That is the angle at which the rainbow becomes visible. Right? 4 times 2 is 8. Right? So this connects back to 8. The number 8, the 8-pointed star of Jupiter and Sumeria, right? The 8-sided cross Patti, right? All the Templars, all this stuff, it all goes back to ancient Sumeria. All these bloodlines, they're all related. They're all part of this criminal syndicate, this big club that you're not a part of, right? That's why there's 17 sustainable development goals. 7 plus 1 is 8, right? And UN in Gematria is 8. This all connects, guys. This all connects. They're all related. All their bloodlines go back to ancient Sumeria. And you see all these different signs and symbols. Right? The cross. The cross, when you fold in the cross in on itself, it becomes a cube. Right? And then we think about, this goes back to the Seal of Solomon. What's in the center of the Seal of Solomon? This black cube of Saturn. Right? And again, 8 sides, right? 8 sides. This symbol also points us to the number 8, which again takes us all the way back to ancient Sumeria and the 8-pointed star of Jupiter. It's all about this number 8, right? That's why I say they don't really lie to us. They don't really lie to us. They tell us that they're all related and that they're Luciferian. They tell you They're all part of his criminal syndicate. They're all working together. All against you. All against you. Right, and then we talk about the Vatican, right? And on the roof of the Vatican, we get this octagon symbolism. And again, why the octagon? Because it has 8 sides, right? And you see these octagons, right? 88. Here's that 88 symbolism on the octagon, right? And you get this same kind of, sun god symbolism with the Roman Catholic Church. All over the place, you get this octagon symbolism everywhere, all about the 8, all about the number 8, all about the 8-pointed star of Jupiter, right? And all of this stuff, the black cube of Saturn, the rainbow symbolism, it's all pointing to the number 8. It all goes back to ancient Sumeria, every bit of it. And you see all this stuff, right? This key symbolism. This is about the number 8 as well. This E3 code in the keys, which is 8 in gematria, just like the UN. Right? Whenever they're talking about the UN, they don't say United Nations, they say UN. This is very purposeful because UN in gematria is 8. Right? Been all over this rainbow symbolism. Right? Just like in the tiara. Right? It all points to Sumeria. Figure 8, the 8, right? And this little necklace here. Right? And it's all about sun worship. In ancient Sumeria, they were all about worshiping the sun. Worshiping the sun. Right? So, and that's what this red and yellow symbolism that you see with the Vatican, you see all over the place. Right? It has to do with the sun. Which again points back to that 8-pointed star of Jupiter, right? And the symbolism that has to do with Shamash, right? And the symbolism to do with the sun god, and this cross patty, all of these things you see literally everywhere. You see this with NATO. NATO has the same symbolism, right? Because they're a part of this criminal syndicate. Where is that? Right, NATO. You see it right here with NATO. It's all connected, guys. It is all connected. Right? Anyway. You see that? And this 3E code, all this key, it's all coding. It's all coded symbolism. They don't lie to you. Because these people want it to be your choice. Right? They want their one world order to be a choice. They don't want to force it on you. They want you to be something that you choose. It's all satanic. They're all demonic, and they want it to be your choice. They don't want to force it. All right, and they tell you who they are. All right, 88, red and yellow. That points back to the number 8 and sun worship and all these things. And you see this octagon symbolism all over the world, all about the 8, all about the 8-pointed star of Jupiter and Sumeria. All right, it's all Babylon. All of it is Babylon. All right, and you see it with Shell. Right? This is the corona. This is the rising sun. You see the rays of the sun in here. Right? The rays of the sun. Right? You see it with McDonald's. Right? These arches. This is the sun. Sun worship. Right? You see it with George Floyd. Right? Right? That's why he was the 80. His number is 88. Right? And you get this red and yellow symbolism. You see it with the Redskins. You see it literally everywhere. And you see octagons in the 8s, right? All about Sumeria, right? All this symbolism. In Google, you get the red and yellow symbolism, right? And like I was talking about in my other video, right? Why is the G, right? Why are both the G's blue, right? In Google, right? This all has to do with the reverence of this divine feminine, right? Blue is the feminine with this color coding. Blue is the feminine, right? This is this dualistic, androgynous, sacred feminine, which is really just the Baphomet. All this duality, all this stuff, red and blue, all this color coding symbolism, all this symbolism goes back to duality, which everything duality is the Baphomet. Everything. Right? It's all deception. All of this stuff. Right? Just like with the Ouroboros, the snake eating itself, the infinity symbol. Right? It's the serpent. And it's not a mistake. It's all very purposeful. You see this meditation room. Right? Same thing with this black cube symbolism. It's all about the 8 points of time and space. It's all about the 8-pointed star of Jupiter. They're all related. They're all part of these bloodlines. Right? Saying the duality, and this seal of Solomon, the first pentacle of Jupiter, all pointing to Jupiter, just like the crown chakra in Kundalini yoga and meditation and all these things. Right? And you get this rainbow symbolism in the Kundalini. You see it in the Kabbalah tree, right? And chakras and prana. It's all this esoteric energy, and it's really just all the same thing. It's all demonic energy. That's what it really is. The crown chakra, Jupiter, third eye, Saturn. All goes back to Sumeria, right? And again, right? That's why DC, they have Capitol Hill, named after Capitoline Hill, in ancient Rome, dedicated to Saturn, where they had the Temple of Jupiter. Jupiter, all pointing, all taking you back to Sumeria. Because this cabal, they're all related. They're all part of this same little Luciferian cabal that you're not a part of. Right? And where do we live? We live in Amaruka, the land of the plumed serpent. And all the symbolism is there for you, right? The obelisk, right? And they obelisk and all over the world, right? They're all part of this little club, this royal bloodline. They're all part of it, right? You got obelisks in London, in Vatican City, and in DC. That's what America really means. It means Amaruka, the land of the plumed serpent, and this red and blue symbolism, all pointing to duality, right? And the Baphomet, right? And while the Templars try and call it a divine feminine and use all this deception, that's what it is, deception. All deception, guys. So don't fall for it. Right? They that say they are Jewish, but are not. The synagogue of Satan. The false idols of Canaan. That's what these are. These are all the false idols of Canaan. It all takes you back to Sumeria and Babylon, and Mystery Babylon. Right? Even this Templar cross, right? You fold it in on itself, it becomes the pyramid, right? But it's all the Templar cross. It's all this 8-sided cross patty. It's all the number 8 and 8-point star Jupiter, which takes you back to Sumeria. It's all the same stuff. That's why I always say they can call themselves whatever they want, but when you get to the top, they're all Luciferian and they're all related. All right, much love, y'all.